What's up, people? Welcome back to the Virax Worlds Talk. And with me today, we have Street Jimmy, my brother, and Lord Flap, my good friend from the UK. How are you guys doing?
Do you want to go first, or shall
And yeah,
I?
doing good. Nice to be here.
Isn't it always a blessing to be around Emmett? To be honest, he's such a nice guy. One of my
As
favorite
is,
people to just have met while traveling abroad. Like, who'd have thought, man? Who'd have
My
thought?
man. Thank you.
What a guy!
Let me
as
remind you,
the
you are
brother,
talking
I
to my
cannot
brother.
be as nice as you are.
Yeah.
So I can say that he's a fine dude.
A bit of a
Oh
prick
man.
Farts.
sometimes.
His farts smell. This is what I can say as his brother. Take it as you
Wow.
will.
Wow. But
This is what I can say as his brother. He won't die alone. Um, well,
look, right.
enough.
If we're gonna get toxic, I've got a Timo mushroom right here.
I mean, I've got a
Okay, if we're
bunch
gonna
over
get
there as well,
toxic,
yeah.
if you want to get toxic, I'm a shroom you.
uh, anyways, do you guys want to introduce yourself a little bit? Maybe if you want to plug in social media and stuff, feel free now.
Yeah, why not? I'm Dave. Everyone knows me as Lord Flab. I'm a huge Fnatic fan, if you couldn't tell, and I'm one of
Oh,
only
really?
100 people to have a Fnatic Gucci watch. So follow me on Twitter at Lord Flab.
This alone is a reason to follow you, I think. It shows commitment to the cause.
Oh man,
To
I
the
feel like I've
cause.
probably paid at least one player's salary so far.
I
Surely.
think I paid more than that actually. I mean, if you consider the
Yeah.
amount of stuff I bought in game as well, like in League of Legends, I spent way too much money on that. Like,
Good God.
yeah.
What is this life we have? We just spend money on video game stuff.
I mean,
This
to
is
be
why we're
fair.
single, guys.
Nah, Dave, you
Speak for
have
yourself.
yeah. I mean, I think I'm the
Yeah.
only single one here, Dave, from what you told me. But never mind that.
We don't talk about that just yet. We don't talk about
Yeah,
that just
let's not jinx it.
yet.
Who? By the way, I'm gonna call my brother Koff because this is just my name, but the nickname I have for him. But his name is Sagi or Street Jimmy. So
I'm in game known as Street Jimmy.
yeah.
I stole that from Bricky. I'm not the original Street Jimmy. For those who know the story. Yeah, nothing to plug. I'm not as involved as other people here. I think in the
I mean, you
call.
are in your personal life, but not socially.
Um, kind of. I'm not as involved in the whole streaming thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, for those of you who don't know the original Street Jimmy story, I highly recommend you go check Bricky's video because
Yeah.
even though it's a bit old, it's one of the most hilarious thing you'll ever see. Like, it's
Oh yeah, you don't see that kind of content in YouTube anymore. It's a
yeah.
very good video. So yeah, go give it a watch.
So just like yeah, just go and give it a watch. It's just like right Bricky and Street Jimmy. I think you should find it. But
Not
anyways, I
now,
think well, no, not
later.
now. Later, yeah. After you
Yeah,
listen to the podcast and yeah,
like it
um,
and subscribe and
yeah.
follow.
Subscribe,
And
like if you watch it on YouTube, you know all the good shit. Leave a comment. Um, check out Dave's Twitter. You know all the good shit. But yeah, just a reminder for everyone listening to this not live, just know that we are streaming it live on Twitch, on my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Virax5, spelled Virax5. So yeah, you can come watch us live, ask us questions on the Twitch chat, and we read it and answer. So just know it is a possibility if you're interested. But enough introduction and self-plugging. Let's get into the meat of it. We gathered here today to talk about League of Legends, about the Worlds, and about the week 2 we had of group stage, which was a banger of a week. Um,
oh yeah,
so how you guys feel about it? We'll talk soon about the group stages as a whole, but like how you guys feel with the week 2 of the group stage being over and the results we have today.
Before I make any comments, what is your stance on profanity? Because I have some very strong words.
Okay, like you can say the light profanity, I guess. Like shit and fuck, I guess it's
It's okay.
fine.
It's okay. I have a solution already. Don't worry. So, in my opinion, I just wanted to start off by saying NA does not deserve 3 seeds at Worlds anymore because they are all trash.
For those of you who are listening to this and not watching, he just pulled out his trash can from underneath his table. Um, I
Yeah.
mean,
NA
Yeah,
is trash. They're
I
so
gotta
trash.
agree. I think that the thing that I took the most from I think this week in particular, but the entire 2 weeks of groups is that you can really see that EU is kind of mostly caught up with the East, and I think this year in particular was a bit weak from the seed 3 and 4, with Mad Lions not even making it into the groups. But um, I think that EU in general, we've seen from previous years that we can keep up with the best of the best. But and I think that some of the wild cards have also shown to be quite the competition once they like let go of the jitters of playing worlds, and once they already know they don't qualify, so they start actually playing good and start taking games from the better teams. So I think that the the gap is kind of closing, but I think NA like really let everyone down, and I agree with you completely. I don't think they deserve 3 seats, and I think TSM in particular was just rubbish. Honestly, just I can't. They were kind of close to beating, I think, Genji in their
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
game this week,
kind
but
of.
even though they were kind of close to beating Genji, they didn't even come close to anything competitive, and it was just it was sad to watch, to be honest,
Yeah,
because you don't want to come and see teams getting bodied, and I think Liquid like kind of almost made it. They were
Yeah.
like 1 win away, but
yeah.
it was just it was sad. It was it was really sad.
And honestly, the Team Liquid point of it is, I think, like, sure you can criticize them for like not winning in the first half of it, the first week, but like at the end of the day, coming into the week 2, they got some good wins and like they almost made it with G2. If G2 would have won, they would have had a tiebreaker. So I think some of it is G2 losing to Sunin, which is like, it's the G2 special, throwing games sometimes.
Yeah, they
Um,
do it in EU as well, but
yes,
I think in particular Team Liquid deserves some credit because they came as a third seed from the
yeah,
playing group, so they had
yeah,
like a very tough group to manage
yeah.
compared to TSM, who had
First seed.
uh getting JDG was a bit unfortunate for them, but still it was a much better group from them for them
You
than
mean
Team
Genji?
Liquid had. Genji, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no Genji.
JDG were Group B. Oh no,
Oh,
wait.
so I'm thinking of
JD JD Gaming were Group
JDG.
B, and
I
Genji
think JDG
LGD. You mean?
were LGD, right?
Okay.
LGD, sorry.
Too many
So yeah,
G and D's and letters
yes,
flying around. Like,
I don't
who's
understand those guys.
ULL? What the
They all
yeah.
look the same.
That's racist, man.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, to an extent, he's
I'll
not
go.
wrong because let's be honest here. Top esports is basically a higher budget version of Immortals. I mean, the logo is basically the same. It's a different color and
Yeah.
slightly skinnier with much better players. It's some of these teams are literally the same.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I guess
there
you're
is some level of understanding there, to be
right.
honest.
Yeah.
At least we don't have like three Samsungs now.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was a heck of a year. Like I think it was even in the finals, like Samsung versus Samsung in the finals. Like what the fuck? But I
Yeah.
might be mistaken. Like it was a while back.
Anyway,
Yeah,
NA sucks.
yeah,
We're
and I
sorry,
mean,
NA fans, but that's the truth. They
but
have some catching up to do with the rest of the world.
yeah, and at the end of the
Can I,
day, like even if you wanna give credit to Team Liquid for almost making it, putting your entire chances of prevailing from group stage on G2 winning or anyone else winning is not a good business model, because you should count on yourself winning and not put your fate in anyone else's hand, because as we see, like, G2 failed them.
Yeah. Can I just say, while we're still on this topic of North America, so before this year, the expectancy was that Cloud9 would qualify for the World Championships and likely get out of groups. However, I just want to throw a curveball in there. Have you ever seen that Thanos meme? You know, the one where he's talking to the little Gamora about what did it cost everything. Basically, I'm pretty sure Thanos is Jack Etienne, the owner of Cloud9, who did a deal with the devil saying, let me win LCS, but the cost of it was you can't go to Worlds. And NA absolutely just face plants this year. And that is what has happened. Like, if Cloud9 had have made it to Worlds, Cloud9 would have probably have got out of that group of death that TSM was in. But
I don't know if
I'm
they
not
would have
even
gotten
joking
out.
because it's
I
just
don't know if they would
Cloud9.
have gotten out, but I think they would have at the very least put on a better performance. Because
Oh
you
yeah,
know, if you get stuck in a group of death, it's
It
only
sucks.
two can go out. It sucks. You don't always get out of groups because you know it's worlds. It's the best teams in the world, but you are expected as a high-ranking region who gets 3 seeds. You're expected to do more than NA has done, and one team doing marginally better or Fly doing better after they were
Yeah,
already disqualified is not enough to be considered a high-ranking region,
yeah, I tend to
in my
agree.
opinion.
By the way, Dave, another way to look at the meme is TSM winning LCS. And like, what did it cost? World chances, like with Gamora being C9 disqualified or something like that. I think there's a meme
it's.
to make there. Um, yeah, but
I mean, let's
anyways,
be
I
honest.
think
NA is a meme. NA is just one big
yeah, and
fat
he's a
meme.
meme.
I think there's also the "I don't even know who you are" meme somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think you can squeeze it in there. Um,
Yeah.
but how do you guys feel about Damwon losing to JD? Because like Damwon came in with top esports as top contenders for this worlds, and top esports did not drop a game, and Damwon did. So like, does it affect how you feel about their chances for this entire run, or do you think it's just a fluke and it won't happen again? Oh wait, top
I
esports did
expected
drop a
it.
game. Actually, my bad.
Yeah.
I 100% expected JDG to beat Damwon in the second round. I'm not
Mhm.
even kidding. I actually put money on that game. I was that like I don't know why, but I just have this weird vibe about Chinese teams in the second week as opposed to Korean teams. Like the myth was always, oh, it's Korean teams week one. They're always a bit shaky, which tends to be the case. But China tends to come out swinging and then sort of falters a little bit. But this year, just watching the performance of JDG in the playing stage was basically enough evidence for me to say, actually, if there's one team that could fight fire with fire against Damwon, who are basically godlike, it would probably be JDG just because of their playstyle. And I think in this rematch, because obviously they got a chance to feel each other on stage, it's a case of, yeah, they managed to turn the table, but I don't think the skill gap is that big, to be honest. I don't think any of these, top esports, Fnatic, G2, Damwon, like any of these teams that are left in this top 8 bracket now, I don't think there's any skill difference. It's just a case of all these teams are so good. If any of them can get a lead, they will snowball the hell out of it, and that's what it is at the moment. So it's genuinely not that intense anymore. It's all these teams are really, really close, unlike
Mhm.
previous years.
It's a question of who gets there on the day, who gets there, gives 100%, and who manages to prepare for the game in the best way. Because I
Yes.
agree. I think of the teams that have made it through. I think first and second seeds don't have that much of a gap between them. I think all of them dropped games to one another.
Yeah,
Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
they
So
did.
I think
it's messy.
it's a really interesting worlds in that regard.
Hmm. But I mean, we still have the two teams that are on top of it, and like pun intended, top esport is one of them. JD Gaming, Damwon is the second, which they are clear favorites. And if you mentioned Fnatic already, like they had the 14-1 record of week 2, and now they doubled their loss into a 16-2, which is still pretty impressive if I'm being honest. But they weren't able to win versus JDG, rather Genji, and get the first seed, first place from the group, which does mean that they can get into top esports or Damwon, and they did. Like they got Damwon, if I'm not mistaken. So
No, top.
they got top. I think they got Damwon. Really?
No, there.
Fnatic got top esports.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Fnatic
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
top
yeah. I'm
It's
stupid.
esports.
Fnatic versus LPL and G2 versus LCK,
Yeah, yeah,
which is
exactly.
insane.
Hoping for them to meet at the finals, but uh, like, how do you feel about them not getting first seed and getting top esports? Like you said, that you feel like the skill gap is pretty close, and a lot of the pros do agree with you, because from the chatter that I did hear, the reason we have so much plays happening around the level 1 is because the skill of the teams is so high that you need the level 1 lead to get a snowball to win the game, because if you don't necessarily get it, then it gets way harder to win because the teams are so good. And that's why we're seeing the late invades, the waiting in a bush and catching people like Fnatic did after they got invaded on, I think. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
it is really close. So like, do you think it's gonna be 3-2 all the way to finals, or is it gonna be someone stomping?
Now that's a really good question. I think if I was to just look over at all the matches that we've got, so Damwon, DRX, Suning, JDG, Top Esports, Fnatic, Genji, G2, the only game out of any of them where I could see a stomp would potentially be Damwon DRX. And that is solely because Damwon 3-0 DRX already in a best of
Yeah.
5. So that would be the one game where everyone would expect a stomp. But I don't think it'll happen. I'm expecting the Damwon one to be a 3-1. I'm expecting Suning JDG to be a 3-2. Top Esports Fnatic will be a 3-2, and G2 Genji will probably be a 3-2 as well. I don't think any of these games will be a complete stop unless Fnatic decides to just shit the bed and has a really bad week. That is the only other case where there would be a 3-0, and I do not see that happening, to be honest.
I feel like G2 might also pull up a 3-1, because Fnatic did win a few games versus Genji, and G2 are, well, supposedly supposed to be better than Fnatic because they did win the LEC. So like, maybe if G2 come with their shit together, they can pull off a win against Genji. But yeah, I do feel like it's a bit close.
think
Um,
I think in general, even I think there will be more games that will be 3-2, 3-1s, but I think that those 3-1s will be quite close. I
Mm.
think I think there might be like 1-3-2 and the rest like 3-1s. I don't expect to be any 3-0s, but I think those 3-1s will be very close because yeah, we've seen even in those wins and losses between those teams, the games were quite close, some of them. So I think that in a best of 5 scenario where you get more time to prepare for your opponent, but also to feel them out between games and the meta changes between them. So I think it'll be yeah, I don't expect there to be any stomps unless some team like really comes underprepared and like
Mm.
chokes on the day.
mhm. Now back to the week we just had, the second half of the group stage. We saw small phenomenon happens where teams that have already been disqualified starting to play well. We saw it with FlyQuest losing their first game, being disqualified from like having no chance of advancing from group stage, and then winning the 2 other games they had. Same happened with the PSG, and it's a bit surprising to me. Like, is it a situation where they suddenly feel the pressure is off and start winning and playing like their style, and it means that they win? Or is it competitors coming in and saying, they're out of the competition, they're not gonna play well, and like a bit like throwing and not playing their 100%, and then like the enemy team gets the lead and wins the game. We also like kind of started with DSM like almost winning, but I don't count it because like it's the comp they had. They had an early game comp and they didn't win it early, so like, you know. But like, how? What do you feel? Why do you think this happened? Like FlyQuest and PSG winning all of their games after they've been disqualified.
I think it's the latter, to be honest with you. I don't see a world where a pro team in a world championship is going to look at their opponents and say, "Oh, these guys are pretty weak. So let's just think about the next game and just roll these
Just
guys
chill.
anyway."
Yeah.
Yeah, I physically can't see that happening because at the end of the day, seeding is so important. Because I'm pretty sure that Damwon and Top Esports would not want to get a second seed and then end up, possibly having to play one of the other top seeds. Could you imagine a world where Damwon has to get second, Top Esports gets first, and then
Yeah.
they draw each other? That nobody wants that. No, they don't want that. Nobody wants that.
Yeah. All the
So
hype is gone.
it's definitely a case of these guys are saying to themselves, you know what, it's already over. We have nothing to lose, so let's just play. Let's just play how we want to play. These players that are losing these games and then getting disqualified, knocked out of the group stage, it's literally got to be a case of A, preparation, and B, the amount of pressure. And I think that stems from the backroom staff more than anything. Because if we look at FlyQuest, like from what I heard in scrims, FlyQuest were actually really fucking good.
Yeah.
But it just didn't come out until they'd flatlined and been kicked out, and then all of a sudden they come back and they take 3 games. I mean, one of them was UOL, which was expected, but the other 2 games, it's a bit like they probably shouldn't have won these, but they did, and they won quite convincingly.
Yeah.
So I've got to look at the backroom staff, maybe a performance coach, maybe whoever's helping them get into the zone. But at the end of the day, we're all outsiders. Nobody knows in particular what's going on. But I would definitely say it's pressure related. That and the fact that, it was a European mid laner. It was a European mid laner. Let's be
That
honest.
obviously helps.
So,
We can't ignore it.
European
helps.
mid laner, European jungler, Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
It's
I
the
think
Euro
so as well.
blood.
I think it's mostly like losing the nerves of we got nothing to lose, let's just play our game. Because I think you also see this domestically sometimes that the teams that are at the middle of the split, like at the bottom, they just say, okay, we got to switch gears, let's do our thing, screw it what everyone else is doing, screw the meta, let's just do our thing, and then suddenly they're playing a lot better. That's why some teams, even when the meta isn't supporting it, choose comfort picks in games where it matters, because comfort is really important. And I think that those teams that we saw losing and getting disqualified and suddenly starting to play well, you saw that they were playing differently than what their opponent were playing, but they were also playing differently from what they were doing like the previous day. So I think it's mostly the first one. You can never be too sure. I agree. I don't think any team will go into a match saying, "Oh, they suck. We don't need to prep too much," because you'll take any practice you get on the stage. I think you won't see like the new strats against unicorns, but but I think that yeah, it's probably the first one.
Now, going back a little bit to what we talked about at the start, like the groups and how the games ended up playing. I want to go back a little bit for Group A and G2. They had won, like they won the first 2 games they had in the second week, and then they came in to the game versus Sunin, where when if they get a win, they lock first seed, and even if they lose, they get a tiebreaker and might get first place. And they just lost both games, and like it stings as an EU fan. Like I'm not a particular fan of G2, but I'm a fan of Europe, and when Europe plays, I want them to perform their best. And watching G2 get 2-0 there just felt so bad, and I'm not sure if it's like G2 not like sometimes throwing, or is it like something more fundamentally wrong with their comp? Like we saw it in Europe as well. Like Caps is their strongest player, and I'm a bit scared for their chances moving forward. Like seeing how they got duoed. Like I'm not saying they're out of it and they're done. I'm just a little scared. So what are your guys' take on it? Like, do you think it's something I should be scared of, or you should be scared of, or is it just like G2 being G2 and they'll come into quarter and just smash everyone and get to final and get over 3-0'd there?
I don't think G2 getting second is such a big deal. At the end of the day, it's like I said right at the start, like the skill gap between these teams is so close. It literally comes down to level ones and mostly draft as well. So in both games that G2 lost to Suning, I believe Suning had a very advantageous level one against them. The first time G2 tried something and it backfired. And then in the second game, Suning tried something and it actually paid off. So both times G2 were on the back foot. I could be wrong. I might be remembering a different game. So please don't quote me on that. But I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So already you're on the back foot. And this is a Chinese team that likes to fight. And if I'm not mistaken, Suning weren't even the LPL winners, were they? The seconds? They
Yeah,
were
there
the
was
No,
second
I
seed,
think
seconds,
they're
right?
a third. No, I
fourth,
think they
Yeah.
were a third
third.
seed.
Oh yeah, because they've
I
already lost
think
one
so.
Chinese
Yeah.
seed. Yeah. Suning
There
was the third,
was
and then JDG was the fourth. Is that right?
no LGD were
No,
fourth.
Machi got
No,
picked.
Machi are
I know,
from
but
the
I
Team
mean,
Liquid came as
end of the day,
the
what I was trying to say is that Suning was not the first LPL seed. You know, these guys were coming in, and it was a little bit like it was going to be shaky regardless. And that Group A was quite easy to predict. It was going to be Suning and G2 that got through, but the question was what order? Which team would
yeah.
show up on the day? And let's be honest, in the first week, G2 showed up pretty well
Yep.
and then lost to Suning. But
Yep.
in the second week, Suning showed up pretty well, but then lost to G2. And then it ended up being 2 games in a row that they had to play or something like that.
Yeah,
And both
Suning
times,
lost to Team Liquid, which meant they had to win two games in a row against G2.
oh yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So basically, as soon as Suning got that first game win behind them in a group where it's all best of one, it's like playing a best of two. It's really awkward. You kind of want to change up your style a little bit, but you also don't. So the pressure was then on G2 to then respond. They took a bit of a risk. It completely backfired, and Suning had the momentum to just roll over them. But if this was a best of 5, however, that would mean G2 would still have one game left to fight back. And that would be then where something completely changes. Like they relook, they replan a level one, they completely rethink their draft and what's the best way to deal with this sort of team that they're playing against. And they'd probably take back a win, maybe even 2, and force a 5-game series. But in a weird one where it is literally a best of 3, it's kind of awkward. So as soon as you lose the first game, and then you need to try and adapt, but if you don't quite get it right, you're going to lose the second one as well. So I would not be worried at all about G2 because they're a bit of a clown fiesta team anyway. Sometimes they're super pog, sometimes they're super int. It's just who G2 is at the moment, and I think they'll be a lot better in a best of 5.
Yeah.
Personally, I think G2 had a kind of a weak groups because going back to last week or the week before, I think if I remember correctly, their win against Suning was really a clown fiesta. It was like back and forth. They were kind of winning, and then they kind of lost, and then they almost lost, and then and then Suning
Yeah.
just threw
Yeah.
it under the nexus.
Yeah.
They just threw it because they tried to win to finish the game when they could have just reset and then finish, and then G2 won from that. So that was a win, but I think it was a kind of a weak win in a sense,
Mm.
and this week as well. So they tried to do the special G2 let's try to flex everything, and they ended up with Kalista Senna bot lane, which didn't work out too well. I don't think that was the reason they lost, but it was a gamble. And I think, yeah, in a best of 5 you maybe do that the first game, and then if it doesn't work, then you don't do that again. But I think those 2 games today, together with, I think it was against Machi, that they also they were fine. They won and kind of convincingly, but not as convincingly as I would have liked them to, as an EU fan. So I think their showing so far has been not the greatest. I know they're a team that can do so much better, and I think we also see it in EU. We saw them this split and the one before, how they don't really do too well until it comes to like the money time, and then they in both time they came through the semifinals and
Yeah.
then won the finals. So I think they're not out of the game, but I think they have more to prove than maybe other teams in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and when it comes to best of five, I think we should give credit to G2 where it matters. Like they have a really good mentality of every game they're going in. Like they don't let the disappointment from last game ruin their game. They always look happy even when they lose. Like they have smiles, and then they can reset their mentality really easily to the next game. And I think it is gonna be really important coming into the best of fives, because every game matters. And if you get tilted off the first game and you play like shit for the rest games, like for the rest of the games, it's gonna ruin you. And G2's mentality of being able to just like, which throw, let's just do it again and better this time, is really important coming into the best of fives. But I personally did predict them to throw a little bit the group stage, and I did put Sunin before them in the group stage pick'em. Which I'm happy I did it because I was right, and they're always throwing. But yeah, I do think they will show up when it matters. Like you said, Kof. Like last split they lost to Madlands in the quarterfinals, and
Yeah, that was a
this
banger. That was
yeah,
a real banger.
and this one losing to Fnatic at the semis, and then both times getting to the finals and winning them. They do have this ability to throw
Tendency.
when they
Yeah.
can and then show up when it matters. So I'm hoping they're gonna do it. And at least at least win the quarterfinals and get to semis. But we'll have to see about that. Um, Another thing I want to talk about a little bit is the Fnatic loss. We saw them drafting a bit differently when they played against Genji that final game, with the Lulu mid lane, and like they had a good comp in my opinion. And I remember you said it, Dave, when we were watching it live. Like you said, as long as they don't throw too hard, they're gonna win this. And sadly, they did kind of throw it. I mean, they did show some nice things at the first few levels, but then it just got snowballed out of their hands. Um, and they Fnatic do seem to have like a bit of a weaker mentality sometimes, getting tilted from games. I mean, I'm like, as you said earlier, Dave, like we're just outside spectators, and it might be completely different from what it really is. But I do feel like they really need to win this series convincingly so they get their confidence back and just start ramping through this group stage, because I this knockout stage, because I do feel like they can do it, the maybe even get to the finals. And like you said, every team is really close, so they can win. But I think their mentality, I mean, again, I don't know. I'm not from the inside. From an outsider's spectator point of view, it looks like their mentality sometimes is a bit weaker. So how
Yeah.
do you think this loss to Genji will come into this playoff first game, best of five?
Kof, do you want to go first? Because I can go really
Yeah,
analytical on
sure.
this part.
I think
Dave
okay.
has an
I think
orientation prepared for that, guys.
yeah, I'll know. I'll take that cue to go take a piss. Uh, I think I think in general that Fnatic did improve on that from let's say 2 years ago, when we saw them in the finals and just everything collapsed. And they didn't do as well the next year, but I think the team changes and everything. So I think in general they are working on these things. If you watch their YouTube
Hmm.
channel, you see that they are working on these things, and um, they are smiling and everything, and
Yeah.
they don't seem too phased from their group or their bracket of the knockout stage. Um, I do think, as Dave said, I think the teams are so close together that pretty much everyone can win, and it really comes down to can you reset? Can you show up on the day, and can you deliver? So I do agree that I think every team here needs a strong showing on their first best of 5. I think it's very important, and I think specifically the the specific best of 5 meta that will develop is going to be very interesting, because these are teams that can innovate. They have good players. Every single one of them has good players that can innovate, and they've shown to be able to do that in the past. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the teams adapt to one another. I don't think the loss against Suning is going to be too hard on Fnatic. I don't think the loss. I don't as just as I don't think it's going to affect G2 that they lost 2 games to Suning, or any other team and their losses. I think it's really going to be about that one day. Like, can you show up on that one day, and then the next day, and the next day? But yeah, I don't think it's gonna cost them too much. I do agree though that if we compare like Fnatic and G2, who can reset better, I think G2 are still better at that. Um, but yeah, if you win, you don't need to reset. So
Yeah,
we
and
can hope.
yeah, and it does look like Fnatic do hold something up their bag. They did show some promising stuff during this group stage. Like Kilistang on Deliona was amazing to watch.
Yeah,
That's
I
banned,
think
by the way. That's 100%
if you
banned.
Yeah.
if you brought up Hiliseng, I think in this Worlds he showed up big time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, as specifically as a player who gets a lot of like backlash and a lot of uh, criticism thrown his way, as the kind of playmaker on Fnatic who is always going in and is trying things. And I think this year he's really showing up, and he's really showing people why Fnatic keep keep him around. I think it's like the third, fourth year that he's with them. And
Something like that.
I think if Hylissang can show up like he did in the groups, I think Fnatic has a much better chance of making it through.
Mm-hmm. So Dave, you have the stage.
Okay, sit
so
back, everyone, relax, and
Grab a
just let it
drink,
wash
grab a
so
over
coffee.
you.
You
Yeah.
know, just chill.
to talk
Coffee.
about the way Fnatic's attitude has been, I sort of have to go off on a little tangent. So, as part of my earlier years, going into a career, I decided I wanted to study to be an actor. So, you learn about characters, you learn about certain habits, characteristics, emotions, tones of voice, etc., etc. And the one thing that a lot of people learn when they train to become an actor is how to read people, because in a sense you have to be able to understand how someone thinks, how they talk, and then literally copy that to the T to then put that on a stage. So when I look at the Fnatic from 2017, 2018, 2019, calling them emotional players, 100%, these guys would mental boom quite a lot. But this year, we haven't really seen that anywhere near as much. There has been a couple of small occasions, but even then, it's just almost non-existent. I do agree to an extent that Fnatic still have a couple of rocky moments where mental does kind of get in the way. But the backroom staff have been doing such a good job. And I've got to shout out Pete, actually, the content creator. Like, if you saw the shit he was doing behind the scenes, especially for like Hilly in between games, this guy was legit giving him shoulder rubs and
Yeah.
intentionally giving him horrible insults to make him laugh. The mental of this team this year has been so much better. Like another person you all need to look at for emotions is Reckless. Like last year, this guy was crying when they knocked out RNG. Like, we knocked RNG out and got out of a group of death, and he was on stage crying with emotion, with joy, might I add. The year before that, when Fnatic were knocked out, he was crying on stage, and people said he needs to cut this Western crap out, because it doesn't work anymore. Like, if you look at the evolution of this guy, who is the captain of the team, who is supposed to be a leader, and you see how his emotion after a result has gone from up here to now about here, and then you've got some players that are down here. But to go from this to this is a humongous leap. And I think it needs to be said that Fnatic is not an emotional team like they once were.
Mhm.
Just look at the way that they got stomped by G2 in spring, I believe it was. It was a 3-0, wasn't it?
Both
Like,
were
Spring
three
was
zeros.
three.
I think.
Spring
Oh,
was
Oh wait,
the first one was a
no,
3-0. I'm sure it was.
yeah.
no. Summer
This
was
was
a 3-0. It was a close game one. Game two was kind of iffish, and then game three was a
yeah. No,
complete
summer
stomp. I
was
think.
definitely 3-0. I think spring
I
was
think
three
summer.
zero,
I
and
was,
previous summer was a 3-2.
yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
I'm
So
gonna
it was
check it.
spring that was. I feel like I need to double check this now. But basically, the point that I was trying to make is, unlike previous years, when stuff really hit the fan and it just blew up in their faces, like the players were down, like they were down for quite a while, and they didn't seem like they were perking up. Apart from basically Bwipo, because let's be honest, the guy could literally get punched in the face and he'd start laughing. because because that's the sort of attitude he has. He's just such a happy guy. He makes everybody else happy. So thinking about mental of Fnatic, it's still there, but it's nowhere near as much a problem now.
Mm.
And I think they're probably just going to brush off this loss that they had in their last game against Gen G, and they're probably going to come out swinging. Although it's top esports, so I'd say, if anything, if you're not going to look at the bot lane, you've got to be looking. Everyone says you've got to look at the jungle because it's such a jungle meta at the moment. But I'm going to throw a curveball and say, pay attention to the mid lane in this series, because we actually saw Nemesis going from somewhat mediocre and not being enabled that much to actually being fully enabled in this World Championship as well, which is really nice to see. So we should be paying attention to that. And the fact that these guys are literally wanting to play around each other. Fnatic have got really good and really powerful drafts. They just need to not shit the bed in the first 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how they would have won that game against Gen G. If they literally just stayed patient, like when they they had an opportunity as two players to back away from a tower dive. They didn't. They chose to try and outplay it, and then they just pulled away. Then they came back in and killed them both, no problem. And then the game was already over because Nemesis had lost so much XP in the mid lane. Bwipo had basically lost a whole freaking wave. In fact, 2 waves, and they were both down. In gold, because of the first blood as well as the extra kill XP, it really adds up and it makes the game almost unplayable. So losing your top and your mid lane before 10 minutes, it's going to be really, really hard to then try and scale, especially when you've got a 200 years champion like Aphelios against you. It goes from being super winnable to being like, oh damn, how the hell can we even survive?
Go next.
Yeah. Just go next.
And if already you talked about Nemesis being activated for these worlds, I think a lot of it comes down to the picks that he has. Like when he played Lucian and Orianna, he played really good. Actually, in Europe too, like in the LEC, he played good the Lucian and the Orianna. But when he got other picks, he sort of, I don't know if it's like he wasn't as comfortable in them or he just knows he has a different role. But on the on the other picks, even domestically, like he wasn't the center of the stage when he was playing all the other things, and like the Kassadin is not going well for him. Like even like they just don't have enough scaling time. I think he needs to be that pillar in the mid game that keeps the team alive, because they have Reckless, one of the best ADCs, and he can definitely carry you in the late game if you give him a Senna or an Ashe. So I think what we should look for is Nemesis getting a pick that is strong in the mid game, like the Lucian, and even the Orianna, like scales better, but she has good mid game as well. So I think this is one of the things we should look out for. And you talked about their mentality, and I think like they have their kryptonites, right? They have G2 and RNG that they always seem to play worse against, and then they broke that kryptonite last year when they beat RNG, and then they broke this kryptonite this year when they beat G2 in the semifinals. And sure, like they lost the finals afterwards, and sure they didn't like they kicked RNG out, but then they lost to FPX. So like they didn't win everything after that, but they did start to break the rules around like Fnatic always choking, and like the Elisira battle said, like we don't beat you, you beat yourself. Like it was true to some extent, I feel like, and seeing Fnatic beat G2 and RNG last year, like it does give some confidence, and like you talked about, their mentality has improved, so I do feel better for their chances. And we all here are Fnatic fans. In case you don't know, like me and
Yeah,
Dave are wearing
if
Fnatic.
you didn't
Yeah,
gather from the talk so far,
yeah, but like me and Dave have the Fnatic jersey on, and Koff is like he has a Fnatic jersey. He's just not home now
it's
to
just not
put it
on
on.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
so like we're all Fnatic fans. So I think the reason why we are a bit harsher to criticize them is because we want to see them succeed. And like it's also the reason why we give them like we're gonna love Fnatic no matter what. I feel like even if they lose like 3-0, we're still gonna love them. But we just want to see them do well, and like I believe in the dream where Fnatic can win worlds.
I think that's more so a case of just being a European fan, to be
Yeah.
fair with you.
Yeah.
Because until Fnatic is actually playing G2, I am 100% on the G2 bandwagon as well.
Yeah.
It's only when it finally comes down to the end result. But
To the
if
fanboyism.
for example, assuming this happens, Fnatic play top esports on Saturday, I believe,
I
and
have it
they get
open.
absolutely steamrolled.
Yes,
I'm
Saturday.
gonna feel bad. Am I gonna say we absolutely, pooped the bed? Yes. I'm gonna be really honest. Like if I think they've just played absolutely terribly, I'm gonna say it. Look, they have played shocking. If that happens, they've played shocking. And I will call them out on that. As much as I'm always defending the team, a lot of people attack players and teams for the wrong reasons. Like Hillisang, for example, got attacked so much for things that people didn't understand. But
Mhm.
those that did understand were basically the people in the inside and the fans that were observant. So I don't mind getting into a battle like that. But if the entire team is just completely running it down, I'll say, you know what, yeah, they just ran it down. But that goes for every team. At the end of the day, we might be a fan of one team, but to understand and be a real fan of League of Legends, you need to be able to understand all the intricacies and be able to say, all right, you know what? Yeah, this team actually played like utter crap today. Or it's a case of, no, you know what? They played really smart, but their opponents prepared really well for this specific thing,
Mhm.
which is why it looks like they got steamrolled. So that's the one thing a lot of the League of Legends community and Twitter analysts fail to understand and fail to recognize. They don't read the game for its whole. They read the game for its cover, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I think something that's worth pointing out that you kind of touched on before, Dave, is that Fnatic is a team that if you look behind the scenes and on all the content that they make, um, what you can see is that progressively over the last couple of years, they have been a team that has put more and more emphasis on fighting an identity as a group, and everyone being okay with, okay, I don't mind sacrificing my lane as long as bot lane is fine, or bot lane is now playing support for the jungle. They have been a team that that has been trying to find an identity, and you saw it summer as well, with when they were trying to funnel self-made at the beginning, and it kind of worked sometimes and kind of didn't work other times.
Mhm.
But if you compare it to a team like G2, for example, G2 isn't a team that needs to have an identity as a group so much, because they're a team that is much more able to just say, okay, as long as everyone is fine on their own, then we can kind of trust that it's going to be fine when you put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, G2 is more reliant because of it, because as long as they have like 2 3 players that are on point on the day, they're going to be fine. And with Fnatic, it's not always like that, but I think Fnatic has done a lot on improving on that front, and I think you really saw it on the groups, on the group games, because you saw the bot lane popping off on a few games, because they weren't taking the front stage in the last couple of splits. They were obviously doing good for themselves, but they weren't popping off as much as they were on a few of those games in the group stage. And you saw Selfmade like really getting into it, getting his first win on Graves, and
Yeah.
like really popping off. And you saw Bwipo like doing Bwipo things, and you saw Selfmade like Nemesis, as you said, really getting his carry pants on and doing the thing that he was supposed to do. And I think this is like the really nice thing to see about Fnatic, and the reason that it's, as a Fnatic fan, so nice to see them playing now, because they have worked on things that have been a problem for them for such a long time, that it's really fun to see all the potential that you saw before, to finally see it coming to fruition. So I think as long as they keep up the momentum that they've gathered, I think they're going to be fine. I think the same thing for G2 as well. I think if G2 can just do the G2 thing, which is come on the day, have fun, flex the hell out of draft, and all that shit, I think they're going to be fine as well. And I wasn't following too much on LPL or Korean, but I think I think this is what's interesting about this world in particular, because yeah, every group can really pop off and beat everyone. And as much as I don't think there are going to be any stumps, I think I wouldn't be too surprised if there were,
Mhm.
because you can just kind of, find the crack in the armor and just
Mm.
explode everything and just destroy someone. And I don't expect it to happen, but if it will, I won't be too surprised, and I will be happy to see it, because it's always fun to see top tier League of Legends being played as it should be.
Yeah. Um. Well, that's that was a really long Fnatic talk. So I
That
think we
that has
can.
literally become a Fnatic talk, hasn't
Yeah.
it? Ah,
I
god damn
mean,
it.
I think it was to be expected when we
You
gather
should
around
you should
three
find
Fnatic.
A Korean guest for the next week.
That's gonna be a bit hard if you know anyone. Tweet it at me. But anyways, I think we can move on to our predictions. We did touch on it a little bit at the start, but like we have 4 best of 5 games. We have Damwon versus DRX. We have Sunin versus JD. We have Top Esports versus Fnatic and Genji versus G2. What are your predictions? What do you think we're gonna see? Like, who's gonna be the winner? Who's gonna be, and like, let's get a bit more specific. Like, who do you think will carry the games for each team? Like, is it gonna be top diff, mid diff, team diff? Like, Dave, give me your uh, like your prediction for the Damwon versus DRX.
Uh, I don't want to do this, I'll be honest. Right. Let me think about this for a second.
Okay, Kof, do you have an opinion?
I kind of think it's gonna be Damwon because of the domestic history. I think if I remember hearing that Damwon was very dominant
Yeah,
this
yeah.
split in Korea, so I
They like
think
3-0 the
it's gonna
finals.
yeah, I think it's gonna carry on here. And I think the same thing goes for JDG against Suning. I think that it's interesting because we have the Korean Europe half, and you have the LPL Europe half. Then it's kind of interesting, because you have to have this inner fighting, um, and that's also why I think JD is gonna win. Um, but I think Suning might take a win. Um, if I have to choose who's gonna upset Suning or DRX, I think it's Suning more likely to upset.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
Dave.
about it. I've thought about it. Damwon's going to win 3-1, and it's going to be a showmaker.
On set
Showmaker's
playing using his showmaker.
Yeah, Showmaker's going to everyone's talking about Naguri, who's the alleged. I'm going to use this lightly. Alleged best top laner in the world. I know who the best top laner in the world is, and I'm not going to say it on this stream. I'll keep that to myself for now. But Chovy's going to
Gilius.
get
Oh wait, what?
abused in this mid lane. I'm going to be honest. The saving grace DRX has in this series is probably Deft and is it Kira in the bottom lane as
Yeah,
a
I think.
support? I believe it's Kira. So Deft and Kira are going to be doing a lot, and I mean a lot for DRX in this series. So I actually expect the bot lane diff to take over in one game, but I don't see a world where DRX can actually beat Damwon at this current moment, unless Doran can team up really well with Siosic. Is that correct? And just
Uh,
completely negate that top lane. Like if DRX choose, because if you look at, I'm bringing it back to Fnatic here again. Jesus Christ! If you look at what happened with Fnatic when they had Caps, like Caps was insane, and every team realized, you know what, the best way, because it happened with IG in the World Final. IG realized what to do was just shut down mid and top. So they just kept sending everyone mid, they kept sending everyone top, and just completely blew them off the face of the earth. You know,
yeah.
if DRX can come in with a similar attitude towards Damwon, then you've got a best of 5. If they don't, and there's a good chance they won't, because Korean players have a tendency to try and consistently outplay each other and out macro each other. I don't see DRX taking more than one game. I think
Mhm.
their bot lane will probably take one, and that'll be it. But if DRX actually wants to attack Damwon where they're strongest and make them falter and make them make more risks and mistakes, then we've got a best of 5, and it'll probably be a 3-2 Damwon. But otherwise, I'm saying probably going to be Damwon, unfortunately. Although I'd like to see Deft win. I'll be honest.
Yeah. And now, what about Sun in JD?
I'm going to say JD
Yeah.
because JD has got so much momentum going in with this team right now. They
Mhm.
smashed play-ins, they made it out of groups, and now they're in quarters against the team that they've played. You know, these teams know each other really, really well. And there's a very good chance they've been scrimming the hell out of each other. And if I look at both of these teams and I say to myself, who is more likely to struggle? I would say it would be Suning, because they're lacking the stage presence that JDG has at the moment. And let's not forget that a lot of these teams, which are all performing really well, if we look at, for example, Mad Lions and Rogue, they were absolutely smashing the hell out of the LEC. And then we get to Worlds, we get a stage back, and I can
Yeah.
see a similar thing happening with Suning, because I don't think overall they're that heavily experienced with stage games and high pressure environments, whereas JDG is going to feel a lot more comfortable on that stage. So I'm actually going to say JDG, and if there was ever a series that would be 3-2, it would be this one.
Mhm. I think for the first
I
two,
think
yeah. Go ahead.
I just want to say I think when you're talking about clashes between regions, you have to account not only for the teams themselves, but how the individual play styles of the different regions compare to one another. And I think that if you don't do that, if you take two teams from the same region, so the meta and the way they approach the game is going to be so much more similar. And in that case, the team that has the most experience and the team that has the most experience on stage, as you said, is going to be the one who is more likely gonna win. So yeah, I agree that Suning is at a disadvantage for that series.
Yeah. Like, I think the first two games are the ones that a bit easier to predict, because these are games that we did see happen during the regular split, because they are from the same region. So like, I think it's kind of a no-brainer saying Damwon is gonna win DRX, because they already beat them 3-0 in the finals. Same going for JD and Sunning. Like, JD advanced from second seed while Sunning from the third. So again, like, you should expect JD to perform better. I think the interesting part of the quarterfinals is gonna be Top Esports versus Fnatic and Genji versus G2, because these are the international games where the like you don't have the same teams clashing against each other again. So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I feel like that one's gonna maybe 3-0 again versus DRX. I mean, I'm gonna give them like a slight Like if someone is gonna 3-0 hard, I think it's gonna be Damwon versus DRX because like they already did it a couple of months ago. Again, JD is gonna win probably. I'm gonna give it a 3-1 or a 3-2. But now to the juicy part of the worlds, I think top esports versus Fnatic. I put Fnatic advancing in my pick'ems because
You
I just
gotta.
have to.
If you don't, I'll beat you senseless.
Yeah, I have to.
So yeah,
Like every year, nonstop, I put Fnatic winning worlds. I came really close on 2 years ago. Like
on
my
that
friends
one
were like,
time.
"Oh my god, you're actually poking! What the fuck?" But then Fnatic got 3-0, so I feel bad about that. But like I every year, nonstop, I put Fnatic advancing to the finals. Um, but like if you don't ask the fanboy part of me, but rather the analytic who's better, I'd have to say it's gonna be like a 3-2 for top esports, but if you are asking the fanboy part of me, I'm gonna say 3-2 for Fnatic. Um, Genji G2, I actually feel like G2 is gonna 3-1 this. This is my personal opinion, but I feel like seeing how Fnatic dealt with Genji and how G2 handle Fnatic, I feel like G2 they have the tools to beat Genji because Genji are practically we have a good bot lane with Ruler there. Even though he has the ear infection and he's playing maybe worse than he should play, he's still like the main star for them. They have a lot of great players, don't get me wrong, but like when you think of Genji, I think you think about Ruler and G2. They have a weaker bot lane, but I think the thing they learned from playing Fnatic domestically is how to beat teams with better a bot lane than we have. Because when you look at G2 Fnatic, 100% of the times Fnatic bot lane plays better, right? But G2 find a
Oh
way to deal with it. So I think
yeah,
G2
yeah.
have the tools to beat Genji, especially if they can activate caps and actually support him and not int the jungle and you know
As long
and
as it's
perks.
caps and not craps, they're gonna
Yeah.
be fine. I
So
think
that's my opinions for the second half of it.
I think more generally, Korea has kind of declined internationally
Mm-hmm.
because they kind of, for me at least, it feels like they kind of tried to keep doing the Korean thing when other teams started doing other things, and they didn't adapt as well to the changing game.
Yeah.
And I think other teams just get better at playing against the Korean way. So in that sense, I think G2 specifically is very well versed against Korean plays, and I think their play style in particular is very good against the Korean way of playing the game. I think specifically also Genji was kind of so-so in group stage. So um, don't get me wrong, they were very good and everything, but I think compared to the other Korean teams, they didn't strike me as too bad of an opponent. And so I think G2 is very favored in that game. Um, I kind of agree with you in regards to top esports against Fnatic because I think Europe, as we saw in the last 2 years, we're not c- uh, we're not sure how to beat the Chinese teams at this point, and the Chinese teams have improved significantly. So I think it is going to be a very difficult match. I obviously also predicted Fnatic to win, but yeah, I just for me personally, I just hope Fnatic just shows up on the day, and if they do, I think they have more than a good chance to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't show up like 100%, I think Top Esports um, is probably gonna win the game without trying too much. I think if Fnatic doesn't show up like 100%, they're gonna 3-1 them.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope they do.
And that touching a little bit on what you said previously about the Korea decline, we talked about it a little bit previous podcast about how I feel most of it came down to the reduction of wards you have, and I feel like it really affected the Korea play level. Like other
The
teams
control
adapted to,
game,
yeah,
yeah.
other teams, other regions adapted to having less vision, so the game is more scrappy, while Korea tried to stick to the let's play it controlled, put words, and like it just didn't work. But like if you want to hear that talk, just go to the previous podcast. It is on Spotify, and I think I didn't upload it to YouTube, but I will upload it, so yeah, it's there. Dave, yeah, final thoughts about the second half of the groups, the playoffs?
You know what? I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm not gonna speak as a Fnatic fan here. I'm gonna speak as someone with a brain. If Fnatic just lock in Malphite, top esports is done. Like, I'm being completely honest here, because the main carry top esports is going to have against Fnatic is going to be JackieLove. Like, Bwipo and 369 will be a messy brawl up top lane, and then the junglers will get involved, and then they'll realize, oh, I don't want to die here, or I don't want to die here, so it'll become very passive, and then we'll probably see tanks coming through, so just give Bwipo Malphite, and then every time that JackieLove tries to do anything, you've just got a rock that goes
nope,
and just knocks the guy in the air, and then he's dead.
ADC 2020 lol.
Rock goes bro.
Unless Knight can show up really, really hard against not self-made Nemesis and just abuse that. Like, if they abuse the hell out of Nemesis in this mid lane and don't allow top or mid to get involved with this bot lane, then yeah, top esports is definitely in a very strong position to just win this game. But I would say that Fnatic has more playstyles and more opportunities to play around this team that they're against. It's as difficult as it might sound to a lot of people. Bring it back to basics. At the end of the day, top esports is a little bit like RNG. JackieLove is going to be carrying the hell out of this team in this series. So what's the best thing to pick against an AD carry, usually?
A rock.
A
Big rock.
A big rock. A big tree.
Boulder.
Something. Or if you really want to go there, Rammus. And I don't want to see that, I will be honest. But if you really wanted to go there, you could. You know, if for example they go Lucian, if top esports went Lucian mid and then JackieLove on a scaling AD carry, just
Like
rocking
an
a rock
affiliate kind
or
of
lock it
thing.
in a ball, you know, rocking something that is going to make this AD carry's life, you know, just the most depressing crap you've ever seen.
Yeah.
You don't need a Nidalee to go. Like, there is no point picking a Nidalee against JackieLove. This guy's mouse clicking is so close to his character, he ain't getting hit by a single spear. So go something that is either going to be so difficult for him to cut through that the rest of the team blows him up, or just something that can just press R and kill him. Example,
Just
Cinder.
dive him. Yeah.
You know,
Or like
shut JackieLove down and top esports is done.
Yeah, and like
I think
when
in,
it comes
in that regard, the fact that the Fnatic bot lane has been playing so well so far is a really good thing for Fnatic fans.
Yeah. And I think another good thing going for Fnatic here is the flex pick that Bwipo has. So like if you wanna do the press R kill him, he also can play the Rengar, which we see him play. And while in the laning phase he didn't always had the best showing, he always came up big time for the mid game team fights and just deleting who he needs to delete. As well as like if you want, he can go for the Zac top lane, which not a lot of people do. And I'm not expecting to see it, but it's always a possibility of just a tank that can just target JackieLove and just get him out of the fight and CC him for 200 years. So like, yeah, I feel like they do have the tools to deal with them, and you know, if someone's gonna pull out the Rammus, then it might as well be Bwipo in the top lane, you know, not even for self-made in the jungle, but Bwipo in the top lane with the Rammus. You know, the man is an innovator.
Yeah. Rammus is point and click CC. If JackieLove doesn't have a QSS and support doesn't have a Mikhail's, and I'm assuming they will do both, which means you need at least four types of hard CC, potentially 5 if he goes flash and cleanse. So if you think about it, JackieLove has flash, he can dodge a CC. So you want something hard that's a point and click, you know, like it will just do it anyway. So for example, Rammus would be perfect, which means he has the QSS or cleanse or Mikhail's, which means that he's then got another 4 champions. So if you have 5 champions on your team that all come with some form of CC, whether it's 1 or 2, example, if you had Zac in the jungle with his knockups, Malphite in the top lane, and then your support is like Leona. And then if you really wanted to go the extra mile, you could go Ashe, you could go Xayah, you could go Senna for CC. Like, you don't have to. And then you've got a mid laner that could also go CC. For example, a Syndra. It's not exactly point and click, but Fnatic legit just need to run CC comps
Yeah,
against
if you
proper
really want
spots,
to, you
and
can
it's
also go
really
with
difficult
the.
for them.
If you really want to, you can go the Camille Galio as well.
Yeah, Camille
Or
Galio
I
is
think
like,
that's
another
really
perfect option.
OP for
yeah,
any single out need. So
yeah.
yeah,
You can also go the suppress route and like go Malzar or like you can cleanse set ult. You have to QSS it. And we did see Bwipo play set. It didn't perform as good as we would have liked to, but you can give him the benefit of the doubt that like it wasn't his fault necessarily.
I
Um,
don't think we're gonna see Malzahar,
yeah,
but
I doubt we'll see them as well, but like
yeah.
to pile onto the
Malzahar support,
list of
throw that in there.
uh,
Malzahar support, don't forget about that,
that's
because that
true.
was disgusting.
Rakan as well. Like Hylissang loves Rakan and he's
Oh
playing
yeah.
it well, and he has the charm to the knock up. Like it's really hard to dodge it. But yeah, I like what you pointed out here, Dave. I think it's a um, good idea there. And the final game, Genji versus G2. What do you think is gonna happen there?
G2's won that. G2's already won it. They've won it on paper. They've won it in. Like, the only way G2 does not win this is if Grab's completely insta draft. It's as simple as that. Like, it does not matter what you do. G2 outclasses this team in every single role. I don't care what anyone says. Every single player will outclass Genji. And if you want me to be super specific about one role in particular that will show up in this series, it's going to be support, and it's going to be Mickey.
Yeah.
Because there were only 3 players in this group stage that could, and I kid you not, like, vision control wise, it was absolutely insane. I was seeing over 100 vision score before 30 minutes, like before 25 even, in quite a few of these cases. And it was Mickey Hylissang, and the other guy escapes me. I think it was the support for JDG. I could be wrong, but nevertheless, like, assuming Genji's support does a huge amount and Mickey doesn't really get to play his game, then Genji has a chance. But as far as I'm concerned, this game is actually support diff. Like, 100% support diff. And Mickey is going to tear them a new one.
I think if they want to look for somewhere to poke holes at G2, I think Yankos is, in my opinion, currently the worst performing member of G2 for a while now. And if they want to try and make someone crack, I think that will be the target. But I think the rest of the team is so good that maybe it will work one game. I don't think it's going to work more than one.
Yeah. And Mickey playing the bard, like he's one of the best bards I've seen. He does have a great champion pool, and he's really been playing well, carrying the bot lane. So I tend to agree with you there. He's like, I feel like he's really carrying perks in the bot lane, and like just playing so well. But we are a bit like it's already an hour and 12 minutes, which is a bit more than the usual, so I think that's gonna
Sorry.
cut it for no, you don't have to. It's been great talking to you guys. Thank you for joining me again. If you wanna plug in yourself, Dave, I know Coffee you don't have, but Dave, where can we find you? Twitch, YouTube, Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter, and the name is Lord Flab right there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. And again, just a
You can
reminder, you
find
can
me
find
around the corner. I'll be selling T-shirts and some lemonade.
the nice lemonade guy. Again, if you're listening to this podcast not live, just remember that it is being streamed live at twitch.tv/Virax5. This is VIRAX5. I also do like games streams every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central European time. So if you're interested in that, feel free to join. Now the games the quarterfinal ends at the 18th of October, and the semis are on the 24th. So somewhere between that time, I'm gonna do the next podcast episode. So if you want to know when that's gonna happen, follow me on Twitter, where I post before we stream it. It's Virax5 or Virax_5 in Twitter. I'm not sure. But yeah, you can follow me there.
Good plug.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
plug. I
Wait.
don't
Let
know
me.
where
Let
you
me.
want to follow
It's
me, but follow me there.
Virax_5.
Thank you, Dave.
There you go.
Virax
That's a
underscore.
true friend.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a
Virax
true
underscore
friend.
5. So you can follow me there. I'll be posting as soon as I know when it's gonna be aired. And yeah, if you want, you can watch it. I'm gonna upload it to YouTube, Spotify, and a bunch of other places. So you can find it out there. But guys, thank you so much for joining me, Dave and Koff, Street Jimmy and Lord Flap. I hope you enjoyed. I
Fun
know I
being
did.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a
And
pleasure.
yeah,
Hopefully, if
hopefully.
Fnatic are in the World Finals, I can come back and gloat.
Yes, yes. Hopefully they will win it and we can meet again. Maybe we'll see you here again next episode or something if it works out. But regardless, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and I hope you enjoy this. And see you again sometime next week. And if anyone interested on Wednesday, don't forget that. But that's gonna do it for us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me, guys. And yeah, see you all in the next time. Bye, guys.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.